Earlier, ABNI's Senthil Chengalvaran spoke with M.R. Raghu, Chief Manager with the Institute of Chartered Financial Analysts, ICFAI. He began by asking him whether the fund managers were responsible for the debacle of the mutual fund industry.
It's astonishing that we manage thousands and thousands of crores, but fund managers are not properly equipped or trained, and most of them are fund managers by default. If I have to say that. Actually, that scene has contributed to the whole debacle of the industry, and the very way the product has been positioned right from the beginning, I think the industry was too greedy enough to capitalize on the hollowness of investors' understanding about a mutual fund. Actually, they tried to.
I think investors have totally rejected them. I would reject them outright. Because one of the major explanations given now by mutual fund managers is the fact that they say there's nothing wrong with us. What is wrong is investors' perception of returns, and they say that
it's exactly there. I would like to make a point. Actually, it's a mutual fund industry which tried to project it as one other primary market issue. They encouraged an official premium in the grey market, and it was given as if a mutual fund is as good as any share in the IPO market, and therefore investors started expecting out of you. And that means there was no investment in investor education.
But there is still a lot of money, investor money stuck in mutual funds.
Yes.
Now, what should SEBI do something about it? Should SEBI actually take action against mutual funds that have failed?
See, actually, the role of a regulator has to be at a very conceptual level. We should not think of SEBI trying to solve every problem. Otherwise, we'll again get back to that CCA regime. If some mutual funds are not performing well, if they've defaulted, if they go bankrupt, and I think it's the investors who has to take the final blame. And therefore, he will react in a different way when the same mutual fund comes out with another scheme. And this is how the market lesson takes place.
With the number of mutual funds increasing, despite them doing so badly, are we going to see a shakeout? Are we going to see competition sharpening the performance?
We are going to certainly see a very great shakeout in this industry. But that doesn't mean to say that the industry is going to shrink. I am very confident about that industry expanding. There will be a lot of foreign inputs that would be coming into the country.
So what you're saying is that there is nothing really wrong with Indian policy of mutual funds. It is more the approach of mutual funds and the people that man them that have failed.
Mutual funds are not supposed to go along with the index. They are supposed to beat the index, and which is the fund that has really done that job. If the Sensex goes up, the NAV goes up. Otherwise, it comes down. That's as good as playing with an index fund. Almost all funds are by default index funds today. You can easily tell as to what will happen to their NAV just if you can predict the market. These are approaches. Where is the role of a regulator or a policy in all these things? The guy who is sitting and managing these funds have to decide as to what type of a fund management strategy that he has to adopt. Whether he has to stay or whether he has to stay liquid or whether he has to stay invested. All these questions are very conceptual question which has to be answered. And again, the investment in fund management is the type of people that you are recruiting there. You will have to see whether they have been trained for such an affair.
Raghu, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.